like to welcome everybody here today to the Spiritually Speaking Cafe. And today's May 21st, 2017, and we'll be with you for about an hour and a half or so. Those of you signing in on the webcast have probably noticed that there's no video, and that's because our internet connection is down today, but we're able to get audio to you and get some documents for you to look at through our cell phones. So we're really glad for that extra capability of being able at least to get that to you today. But we are recording with an internal camera that's set up in this room. So we'll be posting that recording within the next 24 to 72 hours. You'll get an email notice that the recording is posted. That way you can go and see the demonstrations that are being done today by the Healing Demo. Today's good for 1.5 credits if you're with the Natural Therapy Certification Board and or licensed by the Federation of Spiritual Healer License Board. So that'll be helpful to you. If you want to know how to get those CEs and a certificate for that, you can email me, Randall Loop, at ERLOOP, that's erloop@gmail.com. And a lot of people have asked me, a few people, why, the Spiritually Speaking Cafe? And what really inspires me and what part of my ministry is and my purpose is these days is really to be of support to other practitioners who are stepping up and stepping out and doing the light work that needs to be done on the planet today. So the best gifts and talents that I've acquired over nearly 30 years being in service and in practice to the community in some sort of healing modality is what I can offer you as my life experience. So you can connect with me at the email that I just gave you a minute ago if you'd like some additional support. You can also write this down. You can go to my institute website. That's Spiritual Healer Professional Learning Institute. That's shpli.org. shpli.org. And so I'd like to welcome the people that are here in the audience today that are here or going to show up, and all those signed in on the webinar. We really appreciate you being with us. We had about 28 people sign up on the webinar portion, so again, we know you're out there even though we can't see you, and we're trying to keep all this together and use it just make it really comfortable as we can today in light of our technical issue. So today's adventure, what do we have going on? I'm going to do a little guided meditation here in a moment. And then we have a healing demo with Caren Truske. She's a local person here in Columbus, Ohio, and the founder of Wisdom Ways Learning. And she'll utilize movement and breath today, meditation, and lead participants into a greater sense of oneness, harmony, and awareness. And by doing so, she'll be evoking the 5-element balance. And the 5 elements are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And she'll help us embrace some consistency in the change that we're all experiencing and the transformative essence of life. So this today she's going to be guiding us for probably 20 to 30 minutes perhaps. And it's an introduction to an event she has happening here at Soma Energetics Training Center on Thursday, May 25th, and that's from 7 to 9 p.m. And you'll find in your materials, your handouts online if you're joining us there, or just contact somaenergetics.com and find the events calendar there, and you can connect with what Caren will be doing here on the 25th of May from 7 to 9 p.m. That's a deeper exploration of what we're actually doing today. Caren also has a Facebook page called Wisdom Ways Learning. So if you just use your search engine at the top of your Facebook page, you can find her there and follow what she has going on. Then David's going to speak with us a bit today. David's the founder of Soma Energetics, and he's been kind enough since he's moved into town to kind of help me revitalize these events. Before David and Tim came along, I was kind of getting kind of depressed, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it, with the lack of attendance to the events. But since they've shown up, we've grown to have on average about 10 people every month when we do these events. And David and Tim's events have just grown exponentially since they came here, 120 days or so ago to 5 months or so?
5 months.
Something like that. So David's also founded the School of Sound Science and Spirituality. He just finished the Karmic Relief series that we had about how many was it, Tim? 60 people or so that signed up for that event online. So we had a really good online and local attendance here for that. And David has another series coming up. I don't have his actual calendar in front of me, but I know that he has another series coming up. What's the name of that?
It's Living from Heart Intelligence.
Okay, it's Living from Heart Intelligence. David is recently certified as a practitioner of heart math.
Coach.
Heart math coach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and maybe he'll tell you a little more about that later too. And then we'll have some closing questions if any of you have any. So I'd like to thank Somi Energetics for hosting us today. They've been doing this every month since they arrived in town. So for more about Somi Energetics, go to somienergetics.com. So I'm also a local representative for the Association of Comprehensive Energy Psychology. And if you want to learn more about them, it's at energypsych.org. That's ENERGYPSYCH.org. And that's in your one of your handouts, and you can go learn more about them. So this thing's tilted. I'm trying to catch my paperwork if you hear me messing around here. So what is energy psychology? I'll give you a little bit of description so that when you go to the association website, you'll be a little bit grounded. The Energy Psychology Association is, they come together as a group of educators and practitioners to help delve into the bioenergetic systems and to help people balance their lives not only in mind and body, but their energy bodies as well. So energy psychology is a collection of mind-body approaches for understanding and improving the human function. Energy psychology focuses on the relationship between thoughts, emotions, sensations, and behaviors, and known bioenergy systems such as meridians and the biofield. So Somi Energetics fits real good into that bioenergetic field. So Soma means body in Greek, so Soma Energetics, body energetics. So that's why it's such a great to have a good relationship and a place to meet here once a month. And these, so we know that these systems and processes exist and they interact with each other, and with individuals and between people. They're also influenced by culture and environmental factors. So the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology is set up to help delve into the science of energy psychology or energy work. So they're funding a lot of research papers out there, and so just go to their website, energypsych.org, that you'll see in your handout, and learn more about them. We appreciate their support of our industry. So let's take a minute just to take a few nice deep breaths. You can leave your eyes open or close them as you wish. We just finished a series called Karmic Relief with David, and he talked a lot in that about creating space or creating perspective to look back at yourself. And out of my avatar training, there's an exercise called the expansion exercise. And it helps you gain perspective or distance from where you are now and what you're experiencing now to a broader perspective so that you can look back and perhaps see insights and realizations into what's going on. So eyes open or closed as you wish. I'll go through this 3 times. When I start off, I'd like for you to use your body as the space that you begin with, and then you can expand from there. Get some sense of the space you occupy. Start with your body. As easily as you can, make your space extend in all directions. Inhaling and exhaling. Include everyone and everything. get some sense that you contain the space you've just created. Feel where you come from. Now get some sense of the space you occupy. How far out does it extend? As easily as you can, extend your space in all directions. Include everyone and everything. Now get some sense that you contain the space you just created. Feel where you come from. And now get some sense of the space you occupy. And how far out does it extend? As effortlessly as you can, extend your space in all directions. Include everyone and everything. And get some sense that you contain the space you just created. And feel where you come from. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and end the exercise. So I'd like to welcome now Caren Truske up to begin sharing with us her workshop for today, Living in Harmony and Honoring the Five Elements.
Things are falling. I'm going to start with a couple questions for you. The first question is, what is energy? That's a good one, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What is energy? Remember from your science days, right? Energy can't be created nor destroyed. So what does it do?
It changes.
Yeah, it changes. It changes. So I was a science teacher, so I'm going to take you back to your days a bit here. So think about sources of energy. We always think about the sun as a great energy source, right? What are some other energy sources?
Batteries.
Yeah. So batteries would be a chemical form of energy. What else?
The moon.
Moon? Yeah, we don't talk about the moon as much, do we? Absolutely, absolutely.
The petroleum that runs our cars and
Yeah.
our
So
cities and things like that.
Perfect.
Probably energy.
we have sources and we have forms.
Mhm.
So if we track back, that petroleum would be a source,
Mhm.
and from that source then we create gasoline and stuff for our lips, all kinds of face creams, all kinds of things have petroleum in it. Plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Think about sound. It would be a form of energy, right? The vibrations or oscillations. Light is another form. Think about wind. It would be a source. Heat, geothermal. Mother Earth has a core, and there's heat coming up from that core. So we know there's energy. We know energy is everywhere. We know everything is energy. And then when we condense it, we create matter, right? And we know matter can change solid and gas. Remember all this?
Yeah.
So there's something called the 5 elements, and I came upon it, how did I come upon it? You know, just like anything else, it presented itself to me. And I think I was having acupuncture treatments. And I was taking Touch for Health, and I was doing brain gym and all these other modalities, and the 5 elements kept presenting itself to me. And I started playing with it, because that's what I do, I play with ideas. And in playing with it, I realized there's this incredible power in the 5 elements. That it's the natural changes of the seasons in nature, it's the natural changes in our bodies, that our meridians are all aligned with these 5 elements. And as the handout that I gave you says and shows, the ancient Taoists came up with this 5 element theory, watching the dynamic transformative changes in nature. And it serves as the underpinnings for so many of these other modalities and healing arts, from acupuncture to Touch for Health to a lot of other things. Well, what's happened for me is my life has undergone a lot of changes in the last couple of years. And when I use this framework to look at my life, I adapt, evolve, and flow with grace and ease. When I resist things, of course, they persist. So what I want to share with you today is these 5 elements and some movements that will support you in adapting and flowing with life a little more easily. How's that sound?
Good.
You ready? So the first thing before we actually dive into the movements is today's goal. So on the front of your sheet, see where it says today's goal?
Yeah.
We know that energy follows intention. So if we set an intention for our session, we're going to experience, did you find it? We have lots of papers here.
Oh,
There you go. You're going to find that energy is going to go wherever it needs to allow this intention to come to fruition. So if you look at the bold where it says today's goal, if you join me in saying it, I utilize the power and wisdom of the 5 elements to be a more fully evolved and integrated 5 element self, awakened and able to view myself and the world in new ways, thus increasing capacities, options, connections, and engaging more fully and collaboratively with life. How's that feel? Would you like that?
Yeah.
Like more than that? Yeah. Yeah.
Feels like it happens sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. Let's bring it to fruition so it's the norm and not the exception. So we know there's 5 elements. That was obvious from the title, right? Does anybody know what makes up those 5 elements? Randall told us.
Mhm.
If you look at the cheat sheet, the picture, I always have a little cheat sheet, right?
Right.
We're going to start with wood because spring is the energy of wood. After wood comes fire,
Fire,
and then next is
earth,
then
metal,
Metal.
and then water.
water.
So what you just did is you just described the Shen cycle, the nurturing cycle of these 5 elements. And then there's going to be another cycle, we call it the Ko cycle, and it's the star pattern, where you notice that wood, the arrow goes to earth, so from green to yellow. So wood busts through, that seedling busts through Mother Earth, so wood controls earth. Interesting, huh? Earth then creates channels and valleys controlling water. Water puts out fire, or controls fire, and fire smolders and melts metal and allows it to be refined and transformed. Metal chops down wood. So the controlling cycle is that inner star. So when we're out of balance, we have an excess of something. The acupuncturist knows exactly what points on the meridians to put those needles to bring it back into harmony and balance. We can do the same thing through movement and intention. All right, you're going to have to stand up for this one. Are you ready? Please stand up. So on your back side, those of you that have a handout, those of you online will have both of these side by side. I've given you some affirmations and some movements. I want to combine these because, again, we know that energy follows intention. So for the wood element, the affirmation we're going to use is, I welcome changes in my life which are growthful and beneficial. Will you join me in saying that?
I welcome changes
in my life, which are
growthful and
beneficial. And now you want to free your hands up. We're going to put our hands at our side, and we're going to inhale up, and then exhale down. Nice and slow, inhale up, and exhale down. Then one more time, inhale up, and exhale down. We're going to add to that, because with the wood element, we have the liver meridian and the gallbladder meridian. The liver is about transformation in the authentic self. The gallbladder is about choice making and balancing vulnerability. So part of this wood element is forgiveness. Are you ready? Yeah. I forgive and I am forgiven. I forgive, and I am forgiven. Here we go. So let's add that phrase to our movement. We're going to inhale up. I forgive and I am forgiven. And down. I forgive and I am forgiven. And one more time. I forgive and I am forgiven. Let's pause. And then exhale down. I am forgiven. So what do you notice? What's different for you?
Feel light.
Later.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
My body wants to move.
Got a little wiggle room, don't you? Yeah. We got some spaciousness from Randall's
Yeah.
meditation. Now we got some wiggle room. Next is fire. So with fire, there's 4 meridians. That's the unusual piece here. Instead of 2, which all the other elements have, fire has 4. So you've got the heart meridian. You have the small intestine. You have some call it circulation sex, and then you have the triple warmer. So depending upon who you're reading, you'll hear those phrases. I'm going to shift pages here to get my little cheat sheet. So you think about fire, what comes to mind?
Hot.
Passion.
What did you say?
Passion.
Passion. Yeah, hot, passion.
Power.
Power, yeah. And David and I did a balance the other day, a tuning, and he talked to me about fire in my solar plexus. Dave, will you share what you said? You talked about that fire as being...
Action, movement.
Yeah, action and movement. This expansiveness, but it actually burns away, burns through things.
Yeah.
When you think about forest fires, a lot of people say, oh, that's bad to have a forest fire. It's Mother Nature's way of clearing, cleansing, and then that ash is what becomes a fertilizer for new growth, new possibilities. So fire is very important in all of our lives, but there's a part of fire that's discernment. It's a discernment aspect of fire, where it allows us to recognize who I am, what and who I'm bonded with, my higher power, if you will, my relationship with others, and to bring this joyfulness, this activity of compassion and love into life. So for this movement, we've got 2 affirmations, and then we've got a movement. And I'm going to start with the affirmations, then we're going to bridge in the movements. The first one is, I love and accept myself.
I love
and
accept myself.
How's that feel?
Great.
Yeah. There was a time when that didn't feel great to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of you have been there. So this affirmation is so very powerful. If anybody follows Louise Hay, she's done a lot of mirror work. And being able to look at yourself in the mirror and say this, and see that reflection looking back and that little sparkle in your eye, that's fire. I love and accept myself. I love and accept myself. So these are rings and bracelets. And what I love about this movement, this is actually in the Brain Gym spectrum of movements where I pulled this from. But imagine you've got rings and you're putting them on your fingers. So the meridians for the fire element all come off your fingers. They either go down or go up your fingers. So by putting our rings on and our bracelets, we're going to be activating those meridians. So the first one, we're going to inhale as we put our ring on our thumb. And then exhale as we put our ring on our pointer finger. Inhale, our middle finger, and exhale our ring finger. Find the rhythm. And then change hands. Now you ready to do with affirmation? Here we go. Start on our thumb. I love and accept myself. 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 So we're going to switch affirmations for the other hand. The second affirmation, I am in tune with the flow of life. Here we go, thumb, ready? I am in tune with the flow of life. I am in tune with the flow of life. I am in tune with the flow of life. I am in tune with the flow of life. I am in tune with the flow of life. Now we've got our bracelets going up our arm. I love and accept myself. These bracelets go high. You've probably never worn one like this. Here we go again. I love and accept myself. And this is your body, so if there's a place you want to spend more time, spend more time. You know, if it feels good and you go, oh, I got a little tightness there, spend some time there. So check in. Notice those places that you really love and accept yourself. If you want to go into that shoulder, go into that shoulder. Yeah, that feels good, huh? And when you're ready, we're going to switch arms. I'm in tune with the flow of life. Now I just start making them up and adding them together because things start popping in my head. Are they doing that? Is that happening with you right now? Yeah. I love and accept myself. I'm in tune with the flow of life. I love myself. So as just things start popping in your head, just bring them forth. Mm-hmm. I love and accept myself. I embrace the goddess. I embrace my divine self. How do you feel now? You ready? Aren't you? Yeah. Did you notice a difference from the wood energy to the fire energy?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What did you notice?
The fire especially to me was stimulating. I felt my body sort of tingling, and I became conscious of it, of the skin of my body. And I think doing that,
Yeah.
that's some of the circulation,
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is
hard stuff.
yeah.
Hard stuff.
Yeah. And isn't that interesting? Yeah. How about you?
I feel more energetic with the fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is fire's nature. So you're tuning and tapping into it, which is beautiful. Anybody else? So we've done wood. So we know trees grow upward and root down, right? We know fire. The tree feeds the fire. We need the wood to nurture and nourish the fire. So the fire is expansive. So trees reach up, fires go out. Now we've got earth. So now you're starting to notice with earth, things are starting to come in a little bit. You start to feel the difference? Mother Earth?
Mm-hmm.
So these ashes created from this fire are now nourishing and nurturing the Mother Earth, which is the mother archetype of nourishment and nurturance. The earth also has the archetype of the peacemaker, where everybody gets along and we work together collaboratively. So that's earth energy. The color is yellow. And this one is going to be interesting. We're going to cross our hands. What's really important, we want our hands to go on our seams, so we feel our rib cage, and our thumbs are going to stick up. It's a subtle difference, but if you do it the other way, you'll notice a difference if your thumbs are tucked in versus sticking up. So stick those thumbs up. As you inhale, I want you to feel your rib cage pushing into your hands. So I want you to expand that rib cage. Ready? And then exhale. Now you can inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose, or inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. So let's do 5 more breaths. Do you notice a difference connection with the ground than you had before? Yeah, feel yourself rooting a little bit and kind of connecting to Mother Earth. Yeah. You feel your hands are kind of nurturing you. Yeah, crossing your heart. There's a whole lot going on physiologically. This is a combination of Donna Eden's energy medicine, and also Brain Gym has something called a hookup. So it's a combination of a couple modalities. So our affirmations: I am safe and secure, content and fulfilled. I am safe and secure, content and fulfilled. Breathe that in. That's the stomach meridian. That's when your stomach is full. You are safe and secure, content and fulfilled. The other meridian is spleen. So our second affirmation: I am nourished and nurtured by life. So your spleen meridian runs along the side here. That's what we're touching, our spleen meridian. Some points on the spleen meridian. I am nourished and nurtured by life. I want to add one in here, so if you want to write it down, feel free. I do my best, and my best is good enough. I do my best, and my best is good enough. How does that feel? I felt something in my back loosen up. What do you notice? So how is earth energy different from fire and wood?
I feel really grounded, like I'm really secure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah.
Connected. I think we stay in the higher spiritual people, and we just forget how we need to be connected to the physical and the human and the earth, nature.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
It's just a deeper connection with yourself. And the other 2 levels, it feels like you're going more, coming closer to home, more, because you're touching,
Yeah.
embracing.
Thank you, Randall. Our workshop on Thursday night that's going to be here is going to talk about when we're balanced and adapted versus maladapted. So when that mother energy is adapted, then we all can mother ourselves as well as support others. When it's maladapted, we get into these places of worry and these excess. We start becoming hoarders and holding on to things. It really is interesting. So what you just described of coming home to yourself is what that mother archetype has to have to be able to go out into the world, is a sense of home, a sense of knowing that it's safe and secure. And for many of us on the planet, our experiences haven't always felt safe and secure. So this element is critical in bringing us back to that place of I am safe and secure, nourished and nurtured. Powerful, huh? Next one is metal. And again, depending upon Eastern or Western Feng Shui, some will say it's black, some will say it's white, some will call it air, others will call it metal. In my experience, I call it metal. And in this process, the movement I'm going to give you is connecting heaven and earth. But I want you to think about metal for a minute. What comes to you when you think of metal?
Solid.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Strong.
Strong, yeah. Resilient, yeah. So metal can chop down wood, so it can have some sharp edges, right? Metal has the alchemist archetype. So you think about the alchemist as being able to distill the essence, the purity out of things. So here we have Mother Earth. We have all this stuff in Mother Earth. And so when we go dive down, and get those precious gems and metals and ores, we often distill and refine them to get the sparkle and the shine out of them. So within all of us, some of us have some layers of yuck over the years. And this piece, this metal, brings us back to that pure essence of who we are, who we've come here to be. So this one I love is connecting heaven and earth. And I'm going to do the movement that we're going to add in our affirmations, kind of playing with these a little. We start in prayer position. And when we inhale, we're going to inhale into I love you in sign language. So we're going to inhale up, plug into Mother Earth, to Father Sky, and exhale down, plug it into Mother Earth. Then we're going to exhale back to our heart. So we're going to inhale, plugging into Father Sky and Mother Earth, exhaling back to our heart. And find your rhythm and your pace. So your inhalation is the exact same length as your exhalation. So our affirmation, I joyfully release the past, making room for change to enter. I joyfully release the past, making room for change to enter. Are you ready? Here we go. I joyfully release the past, making room for change to enter. Can you feel that space, that room? I joyfully release the past, making room for change to enter. I joyfully release the past, making room for change to enter. So these are the lung meridians and the large intestine. Large intestine is about letting go, letting go. The lung is about value and worth, value and worth. So the alchemist has also an aspect of divinity. The heart does too, but the alchemist does on a little different level. So it's bringing that essence of divine perfection, of the value and worth of who you are in the world, and the importance of you bringing forth your gifts and letting go of that other stuff, that which no longer serves you. That's the essence of metal. So we've done 4 of the 5. What do you notice now?
I feel more even.
Yeah, this was a feel of balance to me. It really created this space above and below.
Yes.
As above, so below.
Yeah.
I feel it.
Thank you. Anyone else? So you're noticing we're starting, that energy starting to contract a little bit and come in. The last one is water. Now, we started with wood because it's springtime. Many people will say water is the beginning of it all. It's where we start and where we finish. It's the beginning and the ending. It's the womb, the universal womb. Metal is about grief, death, and dying. You'll hear some ancient wisdom say we're dying to ourselves every day. So some aspect of us dying, usually it's that ego aspect, so that divine part of us can express further and further. Then water is this place of just coming home, really coming home to where it all started from. So with water, it's winter time. What else do you think of when you think of water?
Movement.
Pretty much so.
Cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit.
Flowing.
Being free.
Yeah. And then interesting, ice, ice, baby, ice from that song.
Oh, yeah.
So water, when it's ice, or think of an iceberg, there's often a lot below the surface. There's a depth You've heard the phrase, still water runs deep. So with water, sometimes there's the mystery of life, right? This mystery. Or there's this place of creativity and this stuff percolating up that's ready to be expressed. A lot of people, that's where they draw their creative energy from. The two meridians are the bladder and the kidney. The bladder is about inner direction. It's listening to that divine guidance. And then the kidney is about a gentle spirit. It's also, if you think about your kidneys, you've got two in the back. It's also ancestral power. So imagine all your ancestors from all your lineage behind you, supporting you.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a delightful feeling? Now, I've got some interesting characters in my family history, but they all have this divine wisdom that they can bring forth to support me through. And when I tap into that kidney energy of the ancestral power and support, whew, something happens. That creativity bubbles up and that knowing. So this is a calf pump, and I'm going to invite you to use a chair or a wall. And what's really, really important is your front leg is going to be bent. You want to be able to see your toes over your knee. Your left leg is going to be straight. That's what's really important. And you want your heel of your left leg to be in the ground so you can really feel a sense of groundedness. Your hands, we're putting it on a chair just to give us some support. But we want our back and our leg to be one nice long line. So energy's flowing. We're going to inhale up onto our toes and exhale down. Again, bending that front leg and really feeling our heel of our back leg connected to Mother Earth. Always inhaling up and exhaling down and really connecting. And brain gym, we call this the calf pump. Runners call it the runner stretch. We change legs. Inhale up. Really focusing on that breath. And we're going to stay down here a little bit longer this time, really noticing that heel firmly connected to the ground. Our legs active, that energy flowing, rooting us, connecting us. And one more time. So I chose this one because the meridians for the kidneys and the bladder run along our legs and they connect with places in our feet. So sometimes when we're not feeling sure-footed, right, or we're not stepping out, these two places, the kidney meridian often is where our fear is held, and that bladder meridian is that gentle spirit, that part of us that's listening to that divine guidance. The two affirmations: I embrace the mystery of life, knowing that health, wealth, happiness, and joy are mine now. Ready? I embrace the mystery of life, knowing that health, wealth, happiness, and joy are mine now. Take that one in. Now this last one, I'm going to invite you to get a partner, if you will, since we've got in our room partners. Those of you on the webinar, maybe you have somebody in the house you can do this with. If not, you can do it against the wall again. And we're going to say our final affirmation, which is, I love to be alive. I give my whole spirit to life. Randall, will you be my partner? Or we do the same calf pump. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have to step back a little.
Sure. Oh, sorry.
So that the camera can
We're on
see
the
us.
camera. So we're going to do the same calf pump. Front leg bent, back leg
You want
straight.
me this way with you? Or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter. And we're going to look into each other's eyes. I love to be alive.
I love to be alive.
Second part. I love to be alive. Let me go up. I give my whole essence to life.
I give my whole essence to life.
Switch legs. Oh, switch legs. Yep. I love to be alive.
I love to be
I give my
alive.
whole
I
essence
give my whole essence
to life.
To life.
I give my whole essence to life.
This is really lovely to do with a partner because when you look into their eyes, you're secreting that bonding chemical, oxytocin, that just kind of brings you to seeing, not just being bonded with somebody, but you're seeing the divine in them, So how do you feel? We've gone through the whole cycle. What do you notice?
Completion.
Yeah.
Harmony. Feels like pieces. Things were in pieces, but they connected and come together into some kind of feeling of integration.
Beautiful.
I just noticed, kind of going from the state of welcoming to a state of creating. Like wood, a spring is welcoming change, and then the calf pump is actually saying it is.
Thank you. So these movements, if you're feeling like you're needing more growth in your life, you could just do the isolated wood movements and affirmations. If you're feeling like you're needing more fire, you could just do the rings and bracelets. If you want to balance all of them, you do all of them just like we did today. You could pick out just an affirmation. There's a million ways you can play with this, but now you have a technique, a tool, and a practice that you can employ anytime to enhance the balance in your life, but allow you to flow with the changes that are normal. Because within our lives, every 24 hours we go through the cycle. We go through it in the course of a week, a month, and a year. And the easier it is for us to adapt and change and flow, the more grace and joy we're going to experience. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to leave you with those of you that are available on Thursday. Randall spoke of the workshop, so we've got a flyer for that. And then also some of the other things that we do at Wisdom Ways Learning. We do breath and meditation practice weekly, typically on Mondays. We have a brain-body connection, which is a play space, an hour-long play where we move and interact with one another, create. So if you have questions, comments, or interested in learning more, let me know. It's been my pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caren. That's I've never experienced a workshop with regard to the elements like this before. It was really interesting. I love the affirmation.
Yes.
And then
Absolutely.
connecting it to the earth in some way, some element. Well, coming up next here at Spiritually Speaking Cafe, we have David Hulse is going to speak with us today, and he inspires me. And ever since I've met him, I've been inspired by him. So I'm really glad that he's in Columbus now, and we have this opportunity and others to collaborate. And I like the fact that that this time of the month we just kind of wing it a little bit more and see what Spirit has to offer to inspire those of us that are out here doing, I started to say the work of the Lord, but but the work of light, within our communities in our different ways. And Caren's a good example of that. This is what she does, and this is what she shares with the world. So David has a great way of weaving a tapestry of all kinds of beliefs into something really meaningful. So I always look forward to hearing him speak. So come on up, Dave, and let's see where we end up.
Okay. Hello, everybody, everyone that's here, and all of you that will be joining us on our podcast. Thank you, Caren. That was fun. That was really good. And that's something I don't always get a chance to do, is to be on that side of things and experience someone else guiding and leading us through some wonderful exercises that makes you conscious of things you weren't conscious of. I mean, all of this is happening that Caren gave us today, but we're not conscious of it. And I think all of you that are here and all of you that are going to view this are going to leave this with an experience of being more conscious about the cycles of your life. And everything is a cycle, And to cycles is rhythm. And to rhythm is movement. And all of this connects what we call life. Life is not stagnant. Life is always ever-changing, ever-evolving, ever looking for opportunities to reform itself. And I just find it sad in my experiences of many years how many people are locked in to a very small periphery and do the same things over and over again, and they listen to the same things over and over again, and the taste for things never changes. And I just find that boring. I find that's what we're not here for.
but we're here for movement and growth and to evolve ourselves as a species. Well, I have to admit that I've been extremely busy this weekend. I've done 2 workshops yesterday and did a tuning this morning before this class, and so I have not had a lot of time. But sitting there, I was inspired, Caren, and I thought if I had a title for what I wanted to kind of talk about, which is one of the visions and passions of my heart and my speaking that I think is important to get over to all of us who are experiencing this time of change, this time of transformation, and there's many names for it, but the point is it all starts with disorder and chaos, and that's the thing we have to embrace. As where does this fit in? We say all things are one, all things are connected, the Spirit is behind all things, and yet when we go through something we don't like, that doesn't feel good, that doesn't agree with our belief system, we seem to stop that flow of the unity of things, and all of a sudden it's outside the circle. Well, we can't do that. We have to keep the continuity of spiritual and consciousness flowing through all things, whether we agree or disagree or like it or don't like it. And there's certainly a lot of that going on in the world at large, but especially in the country that we live in the sense of people are being very divided as to different schools of thinking about how things should be. But as spiritual people and beings, we should show forth a new model. We should show forth a new way of dealing with things in which we don't break that continuity of spirituality. So I sort of have a title for my talk sitting there, and that's very unusual because those here in the office know the hardest thing to get out of me is a title for anything because I'm so all over the place, but this is very rare that I sit there, but I thought I'm going to call it Moving On Up. The Jeffersons. And I could even say moving on up on the east side because a lot of things that influenced me to create Soma Energetics and sound therapy have come from the east. I didn't find it in Western Christian religion, but I had to find words. When it came to understanding like energy channels that run through the body, I had no names for them, so I went over to the east to the Hindu people and borrowed their ideas of chakras, and I found these 3 energy tuners to be a neutral one that runs down the body called the Sushumna. Funny word. We don't use that in English, but it is the Sushumna, which is a natural prana tube that runs down the center of the body. And then you have 2 other channels that are crossing that, and we call that the male and the female, the yin and the yang, the negative and the positive being Pingala, and the female being the Ida. So you have the Ida Pingala. So I have no words like that in English to call them anything, so I had to go move on up the east side to find some of these things. And I think this is a great time for us to realize that this is what's really beautiful is we have access to different cultures, different spiritual schools of thought, different ways that people do oftentimes the same things, and to different language. We need to expand our language. There's a place in the Bible that always fascinated me. It says, and they shall speak with new tongues. And I really thought about what that meant, new tongues. And I discovered that I can get up and speak English words and nobody understands a word I'm saying. So it means new words, new concepts, new things that we haven't downloaded through our old systems. And so today the language is shifting, it's changing. Since we've moved into the beginnings of a new age, the Aquarian age, as well as the quantum age, that's changed language completely. So oftentimes I can throw out words like quanta or neutrons or string theory, and people just look at you. I might as well be speaking some foreign language that they don't know, but I'm still speaking English words, but it's a new tongue to the brain. So I invite you to really spend time in your research and in the things that you're doing to expand because spirit is growing. Our spirit is growing. And what I mean by that, it's expanding because consciousness is growing as a container. And as the container grows, then that which is poured into it can expand itself, right? You can't put a gallon of water in a quart jar, right? You're going to lose most of it. But if you change the container to a gallon container, you can put a gallon of water. So we really have to stretch our consciousness, our container, so that we can take more of this spirit that's coming in the form of new information, new ways to grow, new ways to live, new ways to communicate, new ways to have relationships, new ways to do everything. And the old ways are just not working like they used to, and we need to realize that. So moving on up is really talking about moving up in vibration, moving up into the next dimension as to what it means to be a human being. I call this fifth dimension. So I'm going to try to explain to anyone who may not fully understand that in everyday life as you are aware of it, on this planet, you basically live in a third dimensional world. And that just means that the way you see things is three-dimensional. Height, width, and breadth, for instance. Einstein understood this. And you that are watching this great series that's on right now on Natural Geographic, is just amazing. I'm just loving it. Of course, I'm an Einstein fan, but to see his life and to see how that he came to relativity and all of that by just being, he wasn't such a genius as we think, but he was aware and he was mindful. He would just stand in the square and watch a clock. And by watching a clock and how it moved, he began to deal with what is time. And then he got on a train and decided that while he was on the train, time stood still. Now, those are not really genius things. They're just mindful things. So we don't have to be Einsteins to come up with all kinds of new constructs and ideas. But actually, we just need to be mindful because nature is always teaching us. It's always showing its depth to us if we just become mindful. So living in three dimensions is very important. We call that space to us. That is our perception of space. Now, space is infinite. Space is without beginning, without end, no birth, no death. Another word for space could be God. If your concept of God is without birth, without death, without beginning, without end, and is infinite, you can call it God. Or the popular term today is the field. That was made popular 10, 15 years ago by the book The Field and by the different ones who were telling us that we're all in a field of infinite energy, that our universe doesn't end, it just sits in a field in which it duplicates itself over and over and over again until now we have parallel or multiple universes called, new language, multiverse. See the adjustments in the language? It's not a universe, it's a multiverse. Little trick in the language, okay. So, Einstein found that out. Now, that works for us. You think of most teachings are body, mind, spirit. We get that. That seems to relate. We relate to those three ideas of body, mind, spirit. We often use ice, water, and steam. And if you're religious and Christian, you come from the Trinity, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. And I could go on and on and on about these threes that literally fill our space in how we communicate with each other. A pilot who's on a plane, for instance, it's dark and it's a storm, you wonder how in the world he knows where he is and where he's going, because he has three bits of information. And from that 3 bits of information, he can locate the plane and himself where they are at all times. So I always use this over and over, this simple statement, that if I ask Randall to meet me at 4th and Broadway, I don't know why I keep using that one. Is there a 4th and Broadway here? Oh, okay. 4th and Broadway on the 12th floor of a building. I've given him 3 pieces of information where he can locate me in space. He knows right where to meet me, where I'm going to be. The only thing Randall doesn't know is when. So you have to add to space time, and that's called time-space, or space-time continuum. Well, what we're finding out now is that's just 1 or 3 slices of dimensions. So think of a loaf of bread, and you cut the bread into 11. And the reason I'm using 11 is because I understand that in string theory that they have discovered 3 strings of energy that vibrate with sound that creates the multiverse. That's called string theory. So we'll just use, there's probably more than that, but we'll use 11. So imagine slicing the bread into 11 pieces, and here's 1, 2, 3, and that's where we are. And there's all these slices that are ahead of you, and they're not that far away. They've just been cut in 2. So the brain wants us to make things feel like we're going too far out. This is too far out stuff for me. I hear that all the time. It's not. It's right there. We just need to connect to it. And the way to connect to it is to create a relationship with it through vibration. Vibration and sound bridges between dimensions so that the really, what I call new human, is going to be able to take in multi-dimensional levels of information and process it. This is why I tell a lot of people that possibly this experience of short-term memory, which I find with all ages actually, it's not just people in their 60s and 70s and 80s, but there's people of all ages that are saying, I just don't remember things like I used to. I parked the car at the mall, whatever. Now, and I'm not taken away from the fact that there are psychological and mental issues that people need to see about if something is chemically or physically happening to the brain. But there's so many people that are going to the old model of medical that's not finding a diagnosis at all because I don't know what to call it because all the tests come out good. I'm one of those. My tests are pretty good for a 70-year-old male. I come out pretty good. But I got stuff going on. I don't care what they said. So what I need to do is go find someone who can diagnose me energetically. That's what's coming up. People are going to have to be energetically diagnosed because we're not in the medical textbooks. There is not a diagnosis for mutation, repatterning, the body changing itself based upon new vibrations that are coming in, which is the science of cymatics, it's called. If you want to look that up, cymatics by Hans Jenny, Jenny, and you'll learn that science has proved that sound repatterns physiology. So think about the next time you're screaming at somebody, or screaming at the kids, or yelling at your partner or your significant other, that the way you sound off is the way you're patterning them, and that's why anger begets anger. If you're angry at somebody and they're not angry at you, and you yell at them in a sound and a vibration of anger, you'll make them angry because they'll resonate with your pattern of anger, and anger matches anger. And this is how groups get out of line. When you see people out there and they're being activists and they're gathering together, you have to be careful because of those who are influencing that and leading that sets the pattern. All the people will follow in that pattern. So if they're angry and they're violent, guess what? The crowd will become violent because everything will try to match that pattern. So you're the leader of your life. You're the leader in the sense of your world. So make sure to take the responsibility of how you speak, how you use your voice, what tenure you use, and how you sound, because you're repatterning the world to fit the sounds that you are making. So the fact that Einstein gave us this great idea of E equals mc squared, which is just a very simple way to understand it, is energy is matter and matter is energy. And when it moves through a vacuum, it goes at the constant speed of light. That's all that means. All you need to know is really there's no such thing as matter that has energy, but matter is energy. So we're moving from has to is. We're in the great isness business. That's the business, is isness. There's a place where it said Jesus as a young man was 12 years old, and he was down, his parents had taken him down to the square where he was astounding physicians. He was saying things that the physicians of his time did not understand. And they're saying, oh, Jesus, it's young, you know what you're talking about, it's late, we need to go home. And Jesus turned around to his own parents and he says, wait a minute, I must be about my Father's business. And I thought about that. What was his business? It was isness. That's the business, that we are to show people who we are, not what we just have, but showing us our identity of who we are. So on this idea of third dimensional space and time, we have to look up to the next dimension. Now let me give you one more example that influences this. I can only give you my past experiences. It says that they came to Jesus and they said to Jesus, what is the end of the world going to look like? Now, it doesn't mean the end of this world that you're living in, the end of the world they were living in. Because the word world is a wrong translation. It comes from the Greek word aeon, which is age. Now, what do you think was ending 2,000 years ago was the age of law. They had been under law for 4,000 more years of laws and 613 laws. Everybody says law is the 10 Commandments. 613 laws contained in ordinances. Everything from not wearing the mixture of wool and linen to diet to bizarre things you wouldn't even believe. If everybody tried to keep the law, they'd have to keep 613 things in their life. So, which everybody failed at, by the way. But the end of the law was death. And that's why you see with those who are still stuck in religions of the Old Testament that they feel justified to chop people's heads off and kill them in the name of their God. That's pretty heavy, huh? But that's why they're justified. You wonder, how can human beings do what they do in killing innocent people? Because they've been taught that because they're still under the age of law, which is long gone 2,000 years ago. But anyway, they said to Jesus, tell us the signs. And Jesus says, well, there's going to be earthquakes in places you've never imagined. Nations are going to rise against nations. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be crisis. And here's what he said, and that brings me to the title of my talk. Look up. Look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. He didn't say, look over to the next time that's coming. Look up. So I say to people, let's not look over to the next lifetime, if you believe in that, or to the next thing that's going to happen in third dimension. Let's look up. And here's what you're going to find out. When you look up, it's going to dispel the complete belief in lack. Because in the third dimension, we believe we lack something that we need to find and get. So we give our power and our money to anybody who says, I've got what you don't have and I can get it for you. And we sell our soul. Whether it's religions, cults, which can be the same thing, gurus, teachers, ministers, doctors. It can be anybody that are in a position that molds culture and society. And we go to them out of lack and need. Wonder if we looked up and saw that everything that ever could be is now. And that's a scripture. It's a scripture I never heard anybody minister from. In Ecclesiastes, the 1st chapter, 6th verse, it says, anything that ever has been is now, and anything that could be is now. So, this is where we are. If you think of the cross, and I can't make a cross because all my papers are full. If you think of the cross and going the linear path, here we are on the linear path. Now we're at this place where we have a different choice. We can follow the linear path and fulfill our own prophecies of doom and Armageddon and all the horrible things that everybody's saying is the end of the world, or we can look up on the cross and see the vertical. And that is called multidimensional consciousness. The teacher said it this way, it's a watered down version, but in my Father's house. Now, it's clear that the house is defined in the Bible as your body. Paul says, my house groaneth to be clothed upon. Everybody else says the body's the temple. No, it says the body's the temple, but the body that's the temple is your spiritual body. For the natural man cannot receive the things of the Spirit. So how could your body be the temple? It's a house groaning to be clothed upon. So your house is your body. So, I'm going somewhere with this. So, if you look up and see this multidimensional, that everything that ever could be and has been is now, this is where you can celebrate creation. Creation is a successful thing. We're not waiting for the end to see how creation is going to end up. It is finished. Another great words of the master teacher who said, it is finished. Creation's done. Now we got to work on form. Creation's different than form. The part of me that's been created is perfect and whole right now as I stand here, even though I've got some lower back issues. I still got an ankle issue. I got some shoulder issues, and that's what my five senses tells me, my body tells me, but my faith says look beyond that limited perception of illusion and behold your wholeness also exists on another higher vibration. That's what faith is about. Faith is an ability to go past the five senses of illusion that always gives you lack. You're always in need. There's something you don't have you need to get. Now, I'm not against teachers. I'm one with a little t. I'm a facilitator. I do things, but I don't disempower people. I'm not here to disempower you and tell you, you don't have something and I've got it, and if you'll come to me and pay for my workshops and learn what I do, I'll give you what you don't have. No, if you'll come to the workshops and support me and be there, I will help you to find the aspects of yourself that you yet have not brought into consciousness that already exists. But Jesus said, look up. So, if we move beyond third, fourth dimension, you have to let me know how long I got here. Third, fourth dimension, it would make sense to me in our way of experiencing time, space, dimensions, that 5 would be the next. So we're going to call it 5 dimension. Now, I'm sure that you in the room and you that are going to be with us on the podcast are aware that energy medicine is changing. Many of the practices that are guiding third dimension and fourth dimension are becoming almost obsolete to a lot of people. People say all the time, I've done this, I've learned this modality, I've been to this workshop, I paid a fortune to go here and go to the desert and gone to the mountain. I love it when it says that Jesus said to them when they was looking for him, he says, don't go to the mountain, don't go to the desert, you will not find it. Be still and know. Just be still and know that what you're looking for is already here in the present moment, because that's all there is. So, some of the older practices, and everything's getting older, isn't it? I mean, even what was 5 years, 10 years new is now old. Your cell phones are obsolete. Your technology is obsolete. Things are moving so quickly in technology that new things become old faster than they used to be. So some of the old practices just don't work for people. People tell me it's just not working for me. However, you may notice that evolving your practices has a very positive and uplifting, remember, look up, uplifting effect on your energy. So here's the advice I would like to offer you to contemplate. When you step into physical fifth dimensional world, there will be a transition time for many. In other words, you got to go through the transition. Transition is a process. You don't just step across the threshold and you are there. It is a process that you have to go through, in which, like Jesus was teaching them at the end of the law, you're going to see earthquakes and nations rise against nation, which all of this, by the way, was filled in 70 AD. By 70 years after Titus had come down and said there was tribulation on the world as they never seen, and he said, you that run to the mountain Petra will be saved at that time. And yet that's what they're preaching today. It already happened. All of that was fulfilled when that world is over. Now we're dealing with our own world. A different age is ending, and the same pattern is happening. Things are becoming unstable. Old things, new things are becoming old. Things that work don't work so much. And that's why you've got to be willing to learn new things and to expand into the new things that I think will become clear to you. Listen to this. By learning fifth dimensional energy practices now meaning before fifth dimension stabilizes itself while you're still dealing with the chaos of third dimension, take the advantage of learning fifth dimensional modalities now. Okay? That's very important. Let me read it again. By learning fifth dimensional energy practices now, you allow the light to flow through you more fully, and you empower yourself, get this, for a smoother transition later. Who knows what's coming? I mean, what's going on in the world and in this country? I don't know what a difference a day, the old song says, what a difference a day makes. You know, you got this guy up in North Korea. If he pushes a button and takes out Seoul, what do you think that's going to do to the whole world? And I'm sorry, there's no place to stick your head in spiritual sand and say, well, it's not going to affect me. We're all in this together. As we learned with Caren, that the earth means our connection together. We all have to put our feet on this earth. Gravity is going to make sure you do that. The same earth we have to walk upon to connect us. So if you want to have a smoother transition, you'll start listening and catching the vision now, and not waiting until everything so crumbles into chaos or crises that you don't know what to do with it. If you understand it and understand that you are now a part of a new beginning, you'll understand a very famous quote that is all over the place by Gandhi, and that's be the change. Be the change. You got it right there. Be the change. So you got to be the change. You got to be a part of what is going to bring this change. Then you are more available to help others. People's going to need help. Masses of people are going to be thrown off by this. You got millions of people that thinks that the rapture is going to happen any minute and take them off the planet. Millions. There's millions who believe in this doctrine. I was raised in it. That at any moment, people's got signs if you see an unmanned car or if the pilot's gone. I mean, I've seen crazy stuff where people are going to disappear and go flying off into the sky. It's called a doctrine of the Rapture, which is not mentioned in the Bible at all, but it happened to do with a woman in Ireland who had a dream named MacDonald, and somehow it got into the theology books, called the Doctrine of the Rapture. Then you got some New Age folks out there that's saying, well, I don't believe in the rapture, but I believe the mothership's coming. I'm waiting for the mothership. We're going to Mars. That's the big thing now. We're all moving back home to Mars. That's a big thing now. I say be still and see the salvation of God. See the salvation of God. Be still. Be in the world and not of the world. Learn to connect yourself to a higher intelligence and guidance that will help, that will be a part of a collective. A collective. Not going to be a one leadership. It's going to be a collective gathering that's going to come together and create new models and new systems that are based on fifth dimensional energies. And you say, well, what does that look like? Well, again, you have to go back to the pattern of what Jesus did. Jesus did something called a resurrection. Now, you got to take all this stuff out of Christian dogma. That's the problem with everything he did. It became doctrine and dogma. And some have outgrown doctrine and dogma, and they've thrown the baby out with the bathwater, and I didn't. I said, wait a minute, those things mean something, or they wouldn't have existed all these thousands of years. I need to look into it. And it's so simple to me that it wasn't about was he physically dead and he came out of a tomb and he rose again. That's a doctrine. But what does that mean to me? What that means to me is I can change my vibration and raise myself out of what is dying, which is an old third dimensional system, and raise myself to where there is a rebirth of new systems, resurrection. But you got to roll the tomb from the grave. Look up the word grave. It means the darkened part of the mind or the subconscious. Got to roll the stone away or nothing's going to happen. So when you roll the stone away, see what comes forth. So we need to get this done now. I feel an urgency. I've said for a long time, the word I keep getting in meditation is urgency, urgency, urgency. People are so trapped at their solar plex, fire, because that's where we get procrastination, writer's block, and that's where our ideas doesn't get through to become action. That's why fire burns illusion. Fire burns, the Bible calls it hay, wood, and stubble. It says the fire will come and it will burn hay, wood, and stubble, but it'll purify the gold and the silver, metal, and the jewels. Will not be burned by it, but only purified by it. God is a consuming fire, it says. I give you the Holy Spirit in fire. Fire is so powerful. And somehow in Christianity, fire got associated with Satan and the devil to become hell. Is that bizarre or what? I don't want to go where there's brimstone and fire. Look it all up. The Greeks used brimstone and fire to purify in the temples, not to punish people. Oh my goodness. No wonder it says, and God winked at their ignorance. You need to get there so you can help multitudes of people that are coming, who may really need your help both now and with fifth dimensional transition. Now I call this the first fruits company. What do I mean by that? I'm not a farmer, but I know if you go into a field and you've planted corn or wheat or something, there's always the first fruits that come and to fruition first. The rest come a little bit later. Well, this is what is happening now and why there are people gathering all across the world that are stepping out of the cultural box, the religious box, and they're on this spiritual path, even though they're being misunderstood by family, by sometimes partners, by society at large, by the world. They think we're nuts, we're crazy when we talk about these things. But you see, you're coded to do it because you said before you come, yes, I'll be a part of the first fruits company. Today we call that the critical mass. Light workers, those who are stepping up first and learning now to help others who are not learning now. You will be there to help them to make this transition. But you got to learn about it and learn what's going on and learn how to do it and experience it, and then you can become a teacher and a leader to take them over into the fifth dimension. Fifth dimensional practices are simple. Sometimes less is really really better than more. Breathing into your heart chakra slowly, deeply 3 times. Now that is a heart math. First thing you are taught is heart-focused breathing. Breathing 3 times in your heart. breaks anxiety, breaks it. And you have to learn it with your eyes open, because you need to be able to do it when you're driving the car, when you're sitting in public, and nobody even knows you're doing it. So when I took the classes, we was all closing our eyes because that's what we do. They wanted us to do this in everyday conscious life. So I'm going to ask you to join with me, and we're going to do heart-focused breathing. Now, how you do that, if you notice, your breathing is just kind of automatic. You just breathe enough to live. Human beings don't even know how to breathe. Look at a baby breathe. And when we breathe, we go in, the stomach comes in, but actually when they breathe, the stomach comes out. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to breathe by bringing your consciousness down to your heart. So instead of taking a stomach breath like this, I want you to take a heart breath like this. You're going to breathe in, and if you can, we're going to hold to 5, still point, exhale to 5. Be aware of the still point. That's very important that you understand. Before you can exhale, you had to stop inhaling somewhere. And it's a minute nano choice point and second. So we're going to do this 3 times, and we're going to do focused heart breathing. And what this is going to do, it's going to break up our mental stuff that's going on, and you'll see how this works. So let's get comfortable, and you that are with us, please join us. And let's breathe. And we're going to breathe in at the count of 5. I understand breathing through the nose and exhaling through the nose is more proper. So I'm going to do that, but if that's not your way, but I've read a whole thing about the difference in that, and it is better to do that for some reason. I don't know why. So that's what I'm going to do. So together, let's breathe in to the count of 5, focusing on the heart. 5, hold, exhale. Now I'm going to let you do the next 2 on your own. Heart breathing. Now, could you actually do that and a lot of brain activity go on? I didn't get a lot. It was going on. The chatter never stops. But I wasn't focusing on the chatter in my brain. I broke it with breath. And now I was giving life to my heart that now has 40% of the same etheric neurons as my brain does, now calling it the new brain is in the heart. This is where the intelligence can come from that can change your life. Is heart intelligence. And I'll tell you what, the heart, she, wisdom, Sophia, has plenty to say to him, the brain. I've been trying to tell you. I love that when women do that. Say, I've been trying to tell you for the last 10 years, but you wouldn't listen to me. And heart, the next thing after the heart breathing is coherence. Bringing coherence and integration between the heart and the brain, knowledge and wisdom, feeling and thought. So that's what we're going to be looking into a little bit later in the heart math teaching. So thank you very much. So remember, move on up. I used to hear a preacher say, get out of the ghetto and get in the gitmo. Yeah, so I'm asking you to get out of the ghetto of get me this and give me that, and I'm going to get that because I don't have it. That's the ghetto. and move on up like the Jeffersons did to a high apartment in the sky that looked down upon the third dimensional world from a higher place, a fifth dimensional peace that passes understanding, joy that is exceeding, and life that is abundant. Thank you very much.
Are any of these working now? Well, what I'm hearing in what David said today, and then we can each share a little bit of what you heard, if you'd like. What I'm hearing is kind of another unction or a call to me as a natural and spiritual healer or a person in service to the world is just letting go more of my stuff. And I did an unction last, I do a call to all the natural and spiritual healers I teach coaching skills. And it seems like more and more lately there comes around the second week where I talk to them about their stuff and working on themselves and making sure that their house is clean and in order, and that they don't have things sitting within themselves that's going to cause them to project it out onto their clients. So the cleaner we show up, the more space that's in our consciousness, the more expanded we are, the more we're able to look at our own lives and the lives of others, and intuition can work in that space.
Right.
If your space is cluttered and there's stuff sitting all over the shelves that, you know, like I tell them, the proverbial pickle jar needs to be opened up and let the air out of whatever your stuff is, and let it move on through your system. Feel it fully as you can. Let it move through your system so that there's more space, so that you can and you can dance on a dance floor. You can't dance on a soapbox, you know, if you're just standing in this one little place. So creating more space in our consciousness is what I'm hearing David talk about, so that I tell you what, and this is how I'm feeling too, is I don't have a lot of time to hang on to stuff, whether it be physical stuff, mental stuff, and my past, things that have occurred. I am where I am, and just dance with that, dance with the energy that's showing up. So that's what I'm hearing out of David's talk today. Would you like to share anything, message that you picked up that might benefit the rest of us?
Well, for myself, it just kind of reinforced to me what I'm doing. I want to just keep learning, but I've been so confused, and there's so many energies coming in, and I just didn't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So this has helped me understand what's going on. I'm not psycho, that I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I have the right heart and all these things. I just can't get enough of it. So it's very helpful.
Thank you.
You know, I overlay what Dave was saying with the 5 elements, and the earth element is also for transition time. So between each season is Mother Earth. And so within this place of transition that we're all experiencing is having that still place, that pause, that place to kind of come within, come home to ourselves. I think it is the spaciousness that you're kind of describing. So to me, everything is connected to the 3 things: the spaciousness, the 5 elements as a template, and David talking about this place of transition, that it just continues to flow and evolve, but coming home to ourselves is how we stay centered in it all.
Mm-hmm. Coming back home. Coming back home to ourselves. And the other call that I seem to put out every other month in those teachings is the idea of becoming real. You know, dropping the pretense and the identity and just becoming really real. This is who I am. And we're not walking around in carrying some persona, but we're actually really real and sitting with our gifts and talents and operating in those and being of service. So thanks for the talk today. I really enjoyed it. Thanks everybody for joining us again. I'll be with you again next month around the 25th of the month of June for another Spiritually Speaking Cafe. So we'll see you then. Take care.